Welcome back everybody to look at another Warner Brothers Archive Collection release, and it is 1935's Mark of the Vampire. This is directed by Todd Browning, who also did 1931's Dracula, as well as Freaks, and the silent films The Unknown and The Mystique. So this is a horror film that clocks in at 60 minutes long. Stars Lionel Barrymore, who was in the likes of Key Largo and It's a Wonderful Life, Elizabeth Allen, who was in Grip of the Strangler, No Highway in the Sky, and 1933's The Shadow, as well as Bela Lugosi, who've seen in 24 other films, most well known for his turn in Dracula from 1931, as well as numerous other Universal horror films from that period. But he was also in 1932's Murders in the Rue Morgue, 1934's The Black Cat, The Body Snatcher, 1935's The Raven, and White Zombie. And finally, Lionel Atwill, who was also in a bunch of the Universal horror films as well, but he was also in Doctor X, The Devil is a Woman, Murders in the Zoo, and Secret of the Blue Room. So Sir Boriton, he's a prominent Prague resident, is discovered murdered in his home, with all indications pointing to a vampire assault. The victim's friend, Baron Otto, and the physician who analyzes the body are certain that the vampire is the mysterious Count Mora, or perhaps his daughter, but receive little help from the law. Professor Zolan is an expert in the occult, is called in to assist with the investigation. So, although this horror effort at face value could look just like a cash in on Todd Browning's earlier film Dracula, it is apparent that this is more than that when looked at as a whole. The cast is also great. I love the setting. It has plenty of atmosphere. The pacing is on point. It looks the part with its well shot shadows and a whole heap of fog. I love the ending, and it is predominantly engrossing. So overall, a really good effort. 3.5 out of 5, which is the same rating I give Dracula, to be honest, because that has its issues. As much as of a classic as it is, and as much as I love Bela Lugosi in that, it does have some issues with it. But this sort of solves some of those issues while obviously being a little bit less original. So it all evens out at the end of the day. So yeah, really a solid effort. But as per usual with these releases, physical extras are to a bare minimum. But there are some extras on the actual disc itself. While the Blu-ray presentation, sound and picture quality looks pretty good, although you could probably do better. In terms of special features, you get a commentary by genre historians Kim Newman and Stephen Jones, and then we get a pair of shorts on this film release as well. The first of which is called A Thrill for Thelma, also from 1935. It's kind of a crime noir, well, early crime noir, I guess you could say, if you're going to call it a noir at all. But yeah, more of a crime drama than anything. Directed by Edward L. Kahn, who did a bunch of really rather enjoyable 50s sci-fi films, and it's part of MGM's Crime Does Not Pay series of shorts. Clocks in at 18 minutes and stars Irene Hervey, who was also in The Count of Monte Cristo, the 1934 version, as well as Night Monster and Manhandled. So it's basically about a young woman who wants a life of luxury, takes the easy way, but ends up winding in jail. And it's fairly decent. It's obviously a little heavy-handed with its messaging, but by 1935, a lot of stricter codes were coming in where you really couldn't have films that were sympathising with criminals. So that's probably why it's quite heavy-handed, but it's decent enough. And in 18 minutes, it does quite frankly cram in quite a lot into those 18 minutes with flashbacks. There's a fairly brutal car crash in it. I'm not sure if it was made for this film or it's been nicked from another film, but it's a fairly brutal car crash, and the cast overall are fairly good as well. So it's a fairly decent short film, that one. And then also from 1935, we have The Calico Dragon, which clocks in at 8 minutes long. It's an MGM cartoon directed by Rudolph Ising, who I've not seen anything else from before, but he did numerous cartoon shorts at this period. And it's basically about a little girl who reads a story about a dragon, and as she falls asleep, her doll rides off on his Calico horse through a Calico land to do battle with a three-headed singing Calico dragon. So, yeah, it's fine. It's nothing special. The animation only really looks decent in terms of the Calico dragon, for instance, because it's three-headed. So it's quite obviously quite a big job to animate three heads on a dragon that all moving at once. But the music is decent. The voice acting is decent. There's nothing particularly massively special about it. Um, Notable though for the fact that the horse looks very similar to the horse from Toy Story 2, and the fact that the three-headed dragon does remind me of three-headed Ghidorah from the Godzilla series. So yeah, that's the only real notable thing about it. But it is nice to have a couple of very different types of media from the same period as this. Because obviously this is a horror film, whereas the A Thrill for Thelma is a crime drama, and the cartoon is obviously made more for kids. So to have three very different things on this release is really rather nice. And we also get a theatrical trailer as well. So yeah, overall, yeah, fairly solid release. It's more about the film than anything else, but even the extras are decent, and yeah, the film itself is really rather good. So if you are into universal horror films or just general horror films from the 30s, then yeah, I do highly recommend this. But if you have seen it before, let's hear your thoughts on it. Nonetheless, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.